as we welcome the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, here this morning. An illustrious career has she. I also reminded her today of how important the job of being the Secretary of the Treasury is, and remind all that the Secretary of the Treasury is a successor to Hamilton. We are holding today's hearing in the committee hearing room and via the WebEx platform in compliance with the rules and regulations for remote committee proceedings pursuant to House Resolution 8. Before we begin, I want to remind members of a few procedures to help keep the proceedings running smoothly. Consistent with regulations, the committee will keep microphones of those present on the WebEx platform muted to limit background noise. Members are responsible for unmuting themselves when they seek recognition or when recognized for their questioning. Committee staff will mute members only in the event of an inadvertent background noise moment. In addition, when members are present in the proceeding via WebEx, they must have their cameras on. If you need to step away to attend another proceeding, please turn your camera and audio off rather than logging out of the platform. And with that, we will turn to the topic of today's hearing, the President's proposed fiscal year 2023 budget, with the Department of Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen. Welcome to the Committee on Ways and Means, Madam Secretary. We are honored by your presence. Since the last time you appeared before us, the U.S. economy has made substantial progress towards recovering from the once-in-a-lifetime, we hope, pandemic catastrophe. During the first months of the pandemic, so many businesses failed or cut back operations that unemployment hit levels this nation has not seen since the Great Depression. I would remind all that on March 11th of 2020, when Dr. Fauci offered his warning, which turned out to be accurate about what was coming, we saw 22 million Americans leave the workforce, an unemployment rate that exceeded 14%. It was a staggering blow, and none of us knew what a recovery might look like or how long it would take. Already, though, the economy is back at full employment. Unbelievable when you stop and think of it. Every job now that we lost has been returned. And as I noted this morning, 11 million American job opportunities still exist. There are almost 2 jobs per person that are available. Wages are rising, consumer spending is robust, fewer households are struggling under unmanageable debt burdens, and consumers have $2.3 trillion in additional savings compared with before the pandemic. While all of us on this committee are deeply concerned about rising inflation, and all of us worry about families struggling to keep up with mounting costs, there are parts of the economy that have recovered much more quickly than anticipated. As you recall, when President Biden took office a year and a half ago, we were in the depths of the COVID pandemic. The President worked with Congress to pass the American Rescue Plan, which quickly began to deploy vaccines, get workers back into their jobs, and support Americans with timely economic relief. Thanks to the American Rescue Package, we have recovered faster and stronger than other nations around the globe and averted what easily could have been a more serious crisis. The policies that this committee created, the expanded child tax credit, the earned income tax credit, the child dependent care credit, help sustain millions of low and middle income families. Families in every corner of this country had already been living paycheck to paycheck before the pandemic, and suddenly they faced now unemployment, reduced work hours, and expenses they never could have anticipated. The stimulus payments, business relief measures, and other pandemic assistance kept millions of households and small businesses afloat. On behalf of my constituents, and I hear it every day from every corner of my district, from Republicans and Democrats, thanks what you did to get us through this difficult moment. But the Treasury Department employees were heroic as they pushed out life-saving economic relief during the crisis. Under unforeseeable, extraordinary hardship, the people of the Treasury Department managed to swiftly disperse stimulus payments, advanced child tax credit monthly payments, and other relief measures that helped millions of households and businesses survive. Your team, Madam Secretary, made a difference in the lives of the American people, and we appreciate your assertive leadership. At the same time, many of us on this committee would like to see a better resourced IRS to continue to promote greater fairness and equity in the administration and enforcement of tax laws. It simply is not fair that low-income families are audited at a much higher rate than high-income families, and the IRS must treat all taxpayers fairly and equitably. One of the many reasons I still hope to see progress on Build Back Better, and the package that our committee advanced and that the House passed, is the incorporation of long overdue tax priorities. The bill not only makes our tax code more equitable by ensuring that the wealthy and corporations pay their fair share, but it also supplies the IRS with the resources it needs to ensure that no taxpayer is above the law. This legislation would also tackle the existential threat of climate change, bring down energy costs for working families, bolster our energy independence, and loosen the grip of oil companies on our economy. While Americans are experiencing pain at the pump, oil companies have clearly benefited in an unprecedented fashion. Their profits in the first quarter of this year were 300% above the same time last year. During the first quarter of this year, their profits were raked in by the largest oil companies, amounting to more than 28% of the amount that Americans spent on gasoline. Across the economy, families are getting pushed to the brink in order to line the pockets of people who already were doing quite well. Build Back Better will help to insulate our economy from some of this conduct. We have been fortunate to have had you as a strong partner, Madam Secretary, in crafting a thoughtful package, and I look forward to working with you to push these important issues across the finish line. Finally, on a personal note, I want to thank you for your leadership at international tax negotiations. I was a full partner to you on that and helped, I think, influence the decision of some of our international allies. Finding agreement among 218 members of Congress is always difficult. I imagine you experienced a similar challenge in reaching an agreement with 130 countries. I'm hopeful that meaningful progress on implementing Pillar 2 will be achieved in the EU and our other partner countries in coming weeks. We all understand that in international tax, the devil's in the details. So I'm also looking forward to working with you and providing feedback on issues important to our caucus as you continue these efforts, and with our partners on the other side and partner countries to move forward with implementation. We look forward to your continuing work to set a course for our economy so that our nation might thrive. With that, now let me recognize the ranking member,